Hey everybody, it's Zach Hall, your friendly neighborhood dungeon master here, and I bring a new piece of content to you today. I am not live streaming it, which is what I normally do. I am not doing a first read at a new book or a new game system that I'm interested in playing or telling you about. Instead of bringing you a piece of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition homebrew that I've created that I think it solves a lot of problems that I haven't enjoyed about 5th edition over the past year or so, and think it's pretty good and pretty balanced, though it hasn't been rigorously play tested, and I want to get some eyeballs on it. And I know that a lot of you found my YouTube channel for Pathfinder 2E. Basically what this is taking the attribute score assignment process from Pathfinder 2nd edition and its character creation process and making it work and figuring out how to do it for 5th edition and Dungeons and Dragons. I think y'all know that I really enjoy Pathfinder 2E, especially its character creation. I think it creates a lot more flexibility, and what I like about it the most is that it not only gives players agency when creating their unique characters, but it gives them more impactful choices, which I do not think is true in D&D 5th edition. I think obviously class is, for any game similar to D&D, Pathfinder, class is going to be your most impactful choice. But after that, that's really the only impactful choice in 5th edition. Race brings in some at level 1, and that's pretty much it. Background means nothing in D&D. It gives you a couple extra proficiencies, depending on the background you pick, and a super, super rarely used light mechanical ability. What I wanted to do was to provide more meaningful choices, while also, I think, bringing a level of realism to the ability scores. I don't like the standard array. I think it's boring. I think it creates a lot of the same characters. And while obviously rolling your attribute scores is going to bring the most unique characters because there's such a wide gamut of options, I think this maybe is a nice meet in the middle for players or DMs that don't want to bring that level of randomness to their character creation process, but wants to use something with a little more choices and a little more options than the standard array. So what I've done is basically created a 4-step process for creating your character in D&D 5e and using those choices to determine your ability scores. And it's going to sound very similar to what Pathfinder 2e does because it is directly inspired by that system. Essentially, we have ability boosts and free boosts. Each boost is a +2 bonus to your base ability score. As written right now in my document, the base ability score for all 6 abilities is 10, just like it is in Pathfinder 2nd edition. I'm playing around with that. I think there's a variant that could be introduced where instead of beginning at 10, you start at 9. When I submitted this document to Reddit, some people like being able to have that negative ability score with a low ability score with a negative modifier, like in the standard array, giving one of your attributes an 8. I think that starting at 9 instead of 10 could be an interesting process, but I have not play tested that, and so I haven't added it, and I haven't done the math to see how that works. But we start at 10. There's no need to use the standard array or roll for your ability scores. I do have a variant for rolling your scores in this document, however. By the way, I'll add a link to my website that has a link to this document so that you can check it out, use it at your table, show it to your DM, give me feedback. Would love to hear your feedback on this. This is my first piece of homebrew that I want to get eyeballs and community feedback on it. So please feel free. It'd be nice. So our ability boosts are locked into a certain ability that you'll see here, like when we look at Ancestries. Free boosts are still a +2 bonus to your ability score. They can just be used for any ability instead of being locked into one. The only restriction is that you can't use a free boost on an ability score that already received a boost during that turn. For example, because an elf gets a boost to their dexterity and wisdom, the free boost from its this should be ancestry, from its ancestry must be an ability other than those two. So if we look here at I picked mainly races from the what seem to be the two most popular sources for player races: Player's Handbook, obviously, and then the Elemental Evil source book. It came with a lot of player races. I know that there are others like the Magic the Gathering and Eberron stuff, and I think I did pull in the Eberron books, actually, now that I look at it. I didn't do them all, partly for copyright reasons. I wanted to make sure that I don't get in any trouble, but also because I think it's a pretty basic, simple thing. Basically, you get 3 boosts when you pick an ancestry. Most ancestries come with 2 boosts to a specific attribute and then 1 free. You'll notice that half elf only gets 2 free. Human has 3 free, and I think Warforged has 2 free. So you can kind of see here kind of where I'm going with this. Ancestry step 1 should be the most. It's basically what's happening now, is that you're getting a boost to an ability score based on what race you pick. There's been a lot of conversations in the D&D and the tabletop role-playing game community right now about separating ability scores and modifiers from race and ancestry. There is a pretty popular supplement up on the DM's Guild right now. It was published, I think, this year, 2020, that I looked at, and I think it overcomplicates the process. I think there should still be some, not all, which is what you'll see. I still think there should still be some ability score tied to ancestry. While I think we can easily provide flexibility for players that want to play against type, which we can do with our optional ability flaw. An ability flaw, according to my system, is an optional -2 to 1 ability score that you pick. I don't think it would be appropriate or smart for me, a designer, or you, a dungeon master, to decide that a entire ancestry or an entire race is bad at a certain thing. In 5th edition, I think the only race that has a baked in ability flaw is kobolds, because they play a small type. They get a +2 to constitution maybe, but a -2 to strength. I don't want to mess with that. That seems like dangerous waters. So I'll leave it up to you, the player and the dungeon master at your table, to decide what. And this optional flaw doesn't represent the entire race having that ability flaw. It's your specific character, that hopefully ties into your backstory, helps you tell a more fleshed out, act out a fully fleshed out character where you've opted into being bad at something. The trade-off being you get 2 half boosts. So instead of, you don't trade a -2 for a +2 somewhere else, you trade in -2 for 2 +1s that have to be used on 2 separate abilities. I did the half boosts to kind of alleviate min-maxing. I still have a max. You can't have a max or an ability score greater than 18 on any abilities, but by making you spread out the point buy, essentially, is what you're doing here. By making you spread out amongst other things, it hopefully creates a little bit more even characters, a little less like overly powered. So then here the big thing, first real big change, is that when you pick a class, you also get a boost. So you see that in every class you get to choose between one or two options, and then you have a free. So if, for instance, Barbarian, you pick between what boost you want, a +2 to your strength or a +2 to your constitution. Odds are you want a +2 to both, so you could pick strength from your first boost and then use your free to boost your constitution. You can't use your free boost here to also boost strength. If you pick strength, you have to use it for one of the other 5 ability scores. But because you have the free boost, it gives you the ability that if you wanted to play a really charismatic barbarian, you can do that. You get that +2, and if you really wanted to, you could use one of your frees from your race to boost your charisma. I love this by decoupling some of this. I hope you could potentially see way more infrequent race and class combinations. I'm about to play 5th edition for the first time. Play it in years, just being in a game in 6 months. And the character I'm going to play is a Goliath druid. I think that makes sense thematically. Like Goliaths are nomads, they live by the land, and where they move to and how they survive is incredibly dictated by their environment. It would make sense that for someone to be born in with the magic and the innate talent to be able to manipulate and also work with the environment for the betterment of their people. Unfortunately, Goliaths get a +2 to strength and a +1 to constitution, which are, everybody could use constitution, but the +2 strength is not something that a druid needs. So I don't think a lot of people play Goliath druids. I think you see a lot of Goliath barbarians, a lot of Goliath fighters, Goliath clerics, and maybe some paladins. Anything that uses a martial weapon, because they just get that it's hard to pass up. And for me, it was hard to pass up. I knew I wanted to play a druid. It was hard to pass up a race that gives me a wisdom bonus. But I like playing against type, and I think this was I'm excited to play my character. By giving me the option as a druid, I can pick between wisdom or dexterity, but then I also have a free. Or when I pick race, when I pick Goliath, I have a free that I can use to boost my wisdom, so that I'm not, even when I use the standard array, from the player's handbook, 15 is going to be the highest I can get, my top stat, because I'm not getting a racial bonus from it, and I don't think that makes sense. So while class is obviously more impactful, it is still really impactful for the rest of the game. At level 1, it gives you more choices. And then at 3, I'm really disappointed in 5e backgrounds. I think they're kind of pointless. They provide flavor and a couple of tool proficiencies, maybe a couple of skill proficiencies, depending on which one you pick. Why not? But really your background should represent how you lived your life. How were you trained? What did you do? And so I don't do a full list. I only grabbed ones that are from the SRD, the basic rules, again, for copyright reasons. But you get another assigned, an assigned ability boost and a free boost from your background. And it gives you so much more freedom. You get to pick how you want to be, but your background actually gives you a real legitimate mechanical benefit that honestly I don't think 5e does right now. And I say, like, players and DMs should work together to pick the best ability boost. Good template is for a background, one boost that's a choice between two abilities, and one free boost. I think that probably makes the most sense. And then similar to Pathfinder 2E, you can, and this is the step that I am playing around with the most, that I think anybody can go in and tweak and adjust for how strong you like your table, the players that play in your game. To further represent the specialized training it takes to become the adventurer your player character is, you get 4 more free boosts. The only restriction is that they cannot be used on the same ability score during the step, and that none of your ability scores should be over 18. This creates pretty powerful characters. The total at the end of step 4 for all your ability scores is 82 versus 75 being your total from standard array and the and like the most racial bonuses you could get. That's powerful. I like playing with powerful PCs, but not everybody's into that. So I have a variant where in step 4, instead of these being 4 free boosts, they are instead 4 half boosts. So they only provide a +1, and they still but they can be stacked on top of each other on the same ability during this step. That solves kind of one of the design problems of this system right now, is that by starting at 10 and everything coming up in steps of 2, going plus or minus 2, everything ends up being an even number, which can be a problem when looking at things like prerequisites for multiclassing or for armor. And also, like I said, it is powerful. By splitting the 4 free boosts from step 4 in half, it's just 4 points. You're subtracting 4 points, so it takes it from an 82 to a should be a 78, I guess. So I think I did my math wrong here. A 78, which is 3 points higher, so probably like a modifier and a half, but it's a touch higher, a little bit more palatable potentially. Yeah, so there's a way to kind of adjust. Or I saw someone on Reddit suggest just doing away with step 4 entirely, and that takes you from an 82 to a 74, which is right there online with the standard array. You could do that too. You could just skip step 4. So then I have an example where we kind of walk through step by step, picking an ancestry and picking between those abilities, picking a class, changing those. Then pick and choose the Outlander, so you get here, and then the 4 free boosts. And then I have some final thoughts here at the bottom. Kind of my design thoughts when going through these. I talk about the different, because everything ends up being an even number, just straight raw here in my optional rules. It's going to make level 4, or whenever. I think level 4 is when pretty much every class gets their first ASI. If you use feats, which is an optional rule, 5th edition, but I feel like pretty much every table uses feats. If you use feats, it creates a little bit more of a conundrum for players to decide what they want to use that feat for. Because I feel like a lot of times you can take one of the feats that provides a +1 bonus. So you can still get a feat, but still level up maybe your main or your secondary ability score to the next modifier. If it ended up at like 17 or 15 during your character creation process, you can still get that modifier bump by hitting the even number. Where if you use my character creation system, everything is ending up at 18, so you have to use your ability score increase fully on the same ability score to get that modifier to really feel like you leveled up at 4, that make a big difference with the ASI. So you kind of, it creates some butterfly effects. Another butterfly effect I mentioned is things like multi-classing prerequisites. Like, I think you have to have a 13 intelligence to multi-class into artificer, which is just kind of awkward if you landed at 12 or 14, or really if you landed at 12 for intelligence. But I don't know, things I think that can be adjusted by, if you opt in and use the optional ability flaw that gives you +1s that can kind of get you into cross the threshold for that. If you think the step 4 free boosts are too powerful, cut them in half to +1s. You can end up with some odd numbered ability scores, which, gives you options. So the thing I do like about my system is that it is fairly hackable, and there's a lot of areas where you can adjust. If you think that just in all of step 4 is too much, just strike it and end at step 3. You only get what's provided by your Ancestry class and background. Bing, bang, boom, you're done. And it gives you a character just as powerful coming out of the player handbook. Or you can roll. So my variant for, if you roll for ability scores, step 4 is out. You don't get any of those free boosts from step 4. You lose 1 free boost from your Ancestry. Most classes only have the 1 free boost. For most Ancestries, you lose that. For some of the 3 Ancestries I think I specifically called out, Half Elf, Human, Warforged, you have multiple free, so you just lose one of those. The others stay intact. If you roll, you don't get a free boost from your class, you just get the 1, and then in your background you get no free boost. This one is, it's risky, but I think it falls in line with the thrill of rolling your attributes. Really, when you do that with your system, you're probably going to end up a little bit powerful, more powerful than if you rolled, because you get boosted from both your Ancestry and your class. So you're probably going to end up pretty powerful. I still have the restriction that ability score can't be greater than 18 by the end of character creation. So if you roll an 18, you can't use an ability boost on that ability. And if your class or background would have given you a boost that maxed out that ability, you just simply lose that boost. So my ruling is that if you come out of step 1 with your strength at 18, and then you pick a fighter, and you have to pick, I guess you get a choice. So let's say you got really lucky and both your strength and your dexterity is maxed out at 18, but you play a fighter, you can't use that ability score or that ability boost from your class. Like, it just disappears. You can't use it on something else. You don't get a +1 for something else. You just lose it because you rolled really well. And then I have a change log at the bottom. You can, if you want to look, you can see some of the changes that I've made since my very first version. Some of it is based on feedback I got from Reddit. Some of it is just I visually cleaned up some areas of the document, added some clarity in some other areas. And then I also talk about an alteration that I'm considering. I kind of mentioned how I've thought about changing the base ability score from 10 to 9. I haven't gamed that out yet, but I think it's an interesting option to further, like, if I moved it from 10 to 9, that's an overall net negative, like -6 to the ability score. So if instead of it ending up at 82, you end up at 76, which is right there at what you get from the player's handbook and the standard array. So I think it kills a couple of birds, but then all of your ability scores are uneven. So unless you opt into the ability flaw, which would be crazy because then you're at a -7, which is a -2 modifier. But if you're, I mean, hey, if you're bold like that, go for it. By a potential fix to all of the ability scores being uneven, I feel like that feels bad because you're not going to be able to max out at 18. I don't think. Again, like I said, I'd have to game it out. But I feel like it would feel bad if everything was odd, meaning you're just like one away from getting that extra boost to your modifier. A fix is to use the half boosts instead of full boosts at step 4, but that's another -4, so that's a grand total -10 to the overall amount of points, 72, which is exactly the score that the standard array gives you, but with no racial bonuses on top of that. So you're going to end up with a slightly weaker character, but maybe it's concentrated in the things that you want to be good at. So I don't know. I have to kind of game that one out. But yeah, I just wanted to like put this in front of you all, and I posted it on my Twitter, posted it on the Unearthed Arcana subreddit. I'm not really into Discord. I don't really do Discord. I'm not a member of any communities. I don't have one for myself. Though I think someone even commented on my videos, like wondering if I had one. If that's something y'all would be interested in, let me know. If you want to talk differences between D&D and Pathfinder, or my homebrew, or Fate, or just chat, I could potentially set that up. I don't really know what that would look like. Anywho, I'm not a member of any Discords to like post and that for feedback. So I was like, well, I have a small YouTube channel that people look at for, tabletop role playing stuff, and surely some of them play 5th edition. So, let me know if you like it. Like I said, link to this document will be in the description for this video. And I just want to get more eyeballs on it. Leave me feedback. I'll make sure the comments are open on my website for this page that'll house the document. Comments are open on the YouTube video, and I'll be active. We can get more feedback, and maybe there'll be a follow-up to this video with changes and stuff if I get enough feedback and we change something big. Maybe step 4 needs to be half boosts regardless, and that shouldn't be a variant rule. Maybe 9 points does, like, maybe we should officially move that into a variant rule instead of out of like my potential options. So yeah, let me know what you think. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of video. I do think I produce some pretty high quality homebrew, and have done other homebrew for 5th edition before. It's where I feel most comfortable. But if you're interested in other stuff, let me know. Like, I'm doing a Hogwarts-esque hack of Fate Accelerated right now as another project. So yeah, just let me know what you're interested in. Thanks for watching this video. Leave a like, comment with your feedback, or if you just think this was a cool video and would like to see more of it, let me know. Thanks. Have a good one.